feels like every year at this time I randomly get obsessed with a Japanese game franchise. 2 years ago it was Resident Evil, last year it was Devil May Cry, and this year it has been Final Fantasy VII. It's a game I've been meaning to properly play for years, but only ever really started it and never finished it. But about a month ago I decided to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake and I loved it. I don't have a PS5, so instead of going straight to Rebirth, I played the original and oh my god, I'm glad I did. The original holds up so well, and it took over my life. But playing the original made me look back to the remake in a different way, making me excited to play it again with my newfound enlightenment. So this is where I ask, what even was the Final Fantasy VII Remake? Full spoilers for the remake and the original. This game was in development for a really long time, but they showed it very early on, so we can actually see how far they come throughout the years. First, this is the original. Then in 2005, there was a PS3 tech demo of the intro. Then again in 2015, which was the first actual look at the remake, which didn't show the intro, but it's still really cool to see. Then finally in 2020, this game opens very strongly. The music is like ba 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 ba, and then the reveal of our protagonist is like whoa. This guy looks like he showed a picture of Goku to his barber as a kid and was like, hey, this is what I want, and just stuck with it his whole life. This handsome gentleman is Cloud Strife, a soldier.
Ex-soldier.
Sorry, ex-soldier, who was hired by eco-terrorist group Avalanche to help blow up a Mako reactor because they are destroying the planet. To Cloud, this is just a paycheck, so he is such a prick at the start of the game.
You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
You really hear that?
Damn straight I do!
Get help.
Cloud has quickly become one of my top 5 favorite video game characters. If you know me, you know I love an asshole who is really deep down secretly a softie, and Cloud is the pinnacle of that. In the beginning, he's a socially awkward twink boy who only wants
My money. I'd like my money now.
If you want anything else, we can always
There
get
is
it.
one thing. My money.
But by the end, he deeply loves his newfound friends, and is willing to do anything to protect them. Joining you on the mission is main party member Barrett Wallace, who I'll get into more later, and Avalanche members Biggs, Wedge, and these 3 are in the original, but they say like 3 lines and then fucking die. Here they are actual characters I can tell you about. Wedge here, who is voiced by Badger from Breaking Bad, is a super genuine guy, but struggles with insecurity. He also has a thing for taking in cats.
You got a lot of cats.
Then there's Biggs, who's just an all-around chill guy. He grew up in an orphanage, and when he was old enough, he put a lot of his money into the orphanage in the Sector 5 slums, also working there a while before joining Avalanche. Yes, the exact same one you visit with Aerith. He still donates to and visits the orphanage after joining Avalanche. His last words to Cloud even being about it. Then there's the most fleshed out of the 3, sorry, Jessie. Jessie was an aspiring actress before her father collapsed from overwork and fell right into Mako storage, which led into her joining Avalanche. She still kept her showmanship though. She loves messing with people like life's a play, and Cloud is not having it, which leads to some amazing moments.
Have the cold-eyed mercenary's heart suddenly begun to melt?
Nope.
I won't forget that. Wait, is it just me or did we slow down?
Just you.
Think we've bitten off more than we can chew? What do we do?
Shut up.
Everybody wants to fuck Cloud in this game. Jessie, this guy, Tifa and Aerith, who we'll also talk about a little more later, this guy, and Sephiroth. As you go through the first chapter, you learn the basics of gameplay and combat. The way the original game worked was, it was turn-based, but a little more active, where everyone in the battle has a timer, and once it's full, you can attack. Even when you're looking through your menus, you can be attacked. So it forces quick decision-making. The remake lets you take direct control of your party members, being able to attack, dodge, and block at your own will, unless you're boring and pick the classic mode. They keep the quick decision-making from the original with the active time bullshit system, or the ATB, which works similar to the timer in the original, except you can speed up how much it fills up by using basic attacks on enemies. Then by pressing X, you can open tactical mode, which slows time and lets you spend your ATB on stronger attacks, spells, and items. The ATB gauge feels very slowly on its own, so it encourages you to be constantly switching between party members to keep everyone filled. Then by exploiting weaknesses and pressuring enemies, you can stagger them, which leaves them vulnerable and ups the amount of damage you can do by 160%. But characters such as Tifa can bring that number up as much as you can before the Saga timer goes down, allowing you to absolutely obliterate enemies' health bars. Limit breaks return from the original game, and they're even better. They're way rarer than the original, but they are so much more devastating. The way I use them is I would hold onto them until I stagger a boss, and just watch the health bar get obliterated. Each character has only 2 limits, the second one being earned in a combat arena side mission, which is so much better than the original. The original combat arena pissed me off so much. I'm already not very good at turn-based RPGs, and after every round in the original, they'll give you a debuff, plus you had to pay for each attempt. And if you leave the area, you lose all the points you built up. Here it's much more simple. You just take the elevator and pick what challenge you want to do. There's also a second endgame challenge arena, with the VR challenges. These are similar to the arena battles, but just a bit harder and require a bit more thought and preparation. That moment when bro mentions that 1x. Continuing on, you fight a pretty badass first boss, and place a bomb in the reactor. Then you escape and the bomb goes off, but it doesn't do much to the reactor. So Shinra, being the great guys they are, destroy the reactor themselves. This is the first change from the original, and it's a pretty good one. It's something that could have happened in the original, you just never knew, like the characters. And it's definitely in character for this Shinra. As you escape to the streets of Sector 8, you get to see how absolutely stunning this game is. This was my first time playing the Integrate version, and I was blown away. Except for this video I played the PC port, and it's just as bad as you might have heard. Alright, pause. Just my luck, after like 3 years since the PC port came out, Square decides to fix it while I'm making this video. So, I deleted a whole section of me bitching about the performance. It was really bad when I played it, but I tested the update, and it's pretty good now. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So yeah, this is future me. Hey, how you doing? Hope you're enjoying the video so far. Good to see you. Alright, bye. This next section is really good. You get to see the aftermath of the reactor bombing and the guilt all the characters feel. You question whether it was the right thing to do. Cloud obviously doesn't give a shit yet because he's a little emo boy. The other characters and the players do. You see the devastation, people's houses burning, people dying and suffering. This chapter isn't all good though, because it's the first sighting of one of my very few, but my biggest problem with this game. The first sighting of Sephiroth. He shows up every 40 minutes in this game because he has nothing better to do. Sephiroth is a stalker. You walk down the street, look, it's Sephiroth. You're having a casual conversation, look, it's Sephiroth. You go to the bathroom to take a massive shit, look, it's Sephiroth. There is a reason why he's in this game so much, but I'll leave that for when I talk about the ending. The rest of the chapter is amazing. You meet Aerith or Eris if you're stubborn, and then look, it's Sephiroth! And these weird ghost guys who are also saved to talk about fully with the ending. Then the rest of the chapter is combat, and it finally plays the original battle theme in full force, and it's glorious.
That's that.
They only tease it in chapter 1, but here they let it blast, which makes a fairly basic combat encounter amazing. In case you didn't know, Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually just part 1 of 3, so this game features a lot of padding that's not in the original. Some of it is really good, like the mission with Jessie, and the other members of Avalanche, but others are not so good. Thankfully, a lot of the bad stuff is optional, like the side missions you can do to build your rep as an epic badass mercenary, by doing a box smashing minigame with a bunch of kids, or squatting like your life depends on it against a guy named Jules, which is really funny because that's my real name, so when the crowd was going, "You got this, Jules," it gave me the motivation instead. And watching an old guy flex his dancing skills on a little girl. Most of these aren't very good. They usually just go here, talk to this guy missions, but sometimes they feature a new boss like the Tonberries. You know, the annoying guys from the end of the original that one-hit kill your whole party? Yeah, they're back in their full glory, and make even more appearances in the endgame with the Shinra Battle Sim and the hard mode. Another boss from the side missions is the Behemoth, who I didn't find that hard during the main story, but once he showed up again in the Shinra Battle Simulator, in both the DLC and the main game, he kicked my ass. NPC characters have a lot more focus in this game. You meet and get to know a lot of the normal people living in Midgar, and a lot of them have their own side mission chains that carry across multiple chapters. Or other characters like Johnny, who was voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, which I find really funny because now I only hear Spider-Man when I hear his voice. Johnny is kinda just around through the entire game. He always shows up randomly, even sometimes not being a part of a side mission. He's just there. But a side character you'll be spending the most time with is the Devil. I mean Chadley. You do small combat-based challenges with him like scan this many enemies, or level up certain materia, and after completing these, as he calls battle intel, he'll develop new materia for you, somehow. I don't trust this kid. He's somehow able to develop materia himself, anywhere, including summon materia, which you get by fighting virtual versions of the summons in pretty fun boss fights. I think in Remake Part 3, you're gonna stop Sephiroth and save the planet from Meteor, and you'll turn around and see Chadley, who is now an all-powerful being, with every type of materia and summon at his disposal, and ready to conquer the universe. The main story doesn't fully escape the pattern adding. None of it is particularly bad, but it's really noticeable towards the second half of the game, what is and isn't from the original. As an example, before the play is gonna be dropped, and the stakes of the story are at its peak, you have to fuck around with a bunch of ghost kids for an hour. And then again later, when Aerith is taken, you have to spend a whole chapter in a reused location, doing a side quest for the fucking Corneo guard, Leslie. The new added stories in these sections aren't bad. I especially enjoyed Leslie as a character. It just feels like it wastes your time, and it's always in the worst possible parts of the story. This game isn't open world, but Midgar is heavily expanded, having each of the slum areas connected, even letting you move between them seamlessly in one of the later chapters, with fast travel and all. Though this game is just a chunk of the original game, it still feels like a complete story. The game is very much about Cloud's growth as a person, going from a quiet jackass to a man who loves and trusts his friends, who's ready to go on a quest to face his past and save the planet. The best part of this game by far is the boss fights. They're so freaking good. There isn't a single boss I hate or dread. Each fight is so much fun, so cinematic and so rewarding. There's this one boss that returns from the original called the Airbuster, where originally it just shows up as one of the first bosses and you kill it fairly quickly without any issue, and forget about it. In the remake, it's this whole set piece with a load of builder. You first see it and Cloud is like, yeah, we don't want to fuck with that thing. It'll fuck us up. But Heidegger reveals he's gonna send it to kill us and stream it to the whole city. So we spend a chapter figuring out how the we're gonna survive it, and cutting off some of its supplies, while it's being prepared to give us a fighting chance. And when it comes time to finally fight it, it's so worth it. The original game's boss music, Fight On, comes in, and it's so freaking badass. Just listen to this.
Oh, are you alright?
I'm fine. You guys good to go?
This fight has turned into a multi-phase, epic set piece that truly tests your skills up to that point. Every boss returns from the original, and some basic enemies have been upgraded to boss fight status, like the Hell House, which is a really good fight, especially on hard mode. But some of my favorites are with the human members of Shinra, such as the Turks, Reno, and Rude, and of course, the most badass motherfucker in the whole game, Rufus Shinra. In addition to the boss fight with the Turks in the original at the Pillar, both Reno and Rude get independent fights now, Reno's being especially fun. I'm just in love with Reno's design. He looks like such a fuckboy, while still being badass, and Rude looks like what Andrew Tate thinks he looks like. There's only one boss I wish wasn't in the game, but I still really love the gameplay of it. But all the bosses have one consistent, really annoying quirk to them though. Each boss has unskippable cutscenes in between phases, which isn't that bad on their own. The problem with it is with the stagger mechanic. You always wait to use your really powerful moves until then. If they decide to activate a cutscene, your moves you saved up can just go into the void. It's a constant frustration. In some cases where they aren't able to activate the cutscene, you'll literally say no, and they'll just stop taking damage until they're able to activate the cutscene. There's also a feature where you can open the menu just before a boss to adjust your build for the situation, but it's inconsistent. It doesn't let you do it with every boss for some reason. I didn't use it much anyway, but there was 1 or 2 times where I tried and it didn't let me. The way you level and build up your party is mostly the same as the original. As you level up, your stats increase on their own, but now you can earn skill points, which can be used on each character's weapons to add extra stats or even new abilities and material slots. In the original, you mostly use the weapon with the higher number, but with the skill tree in the remake, each weapon is different, and each weapon is viable. Each weapon has an ability tied to it that once you get 100% proficiency with, you can use it on every other weapon. Even some weapons give you completely different movesets, like the melee weapons for Barret. The material system returns in all of its glory, allowing you to build any character in any way you want. You'll be playing as Cloud for most of the game. Cloud is good for both magic and pressuring. I made sure he had fire, ice, and lightning materia for the whole game, so I'd almost always have an enemy's weakness to exploit. Cloud is also an amazing pressurer. Not the best, that would be Tifa, but really good. He can basically be always attacking with his 2 stances. Operator mode is the basic light attack mode that you'll be in most of the time. Good for fighting multiple enemies at once. Then there's Punisher mode, which is the heavy attack stance. But the main use for it is a parry. Swapping into Punisher mode just as an enemy hits you will parry them, pushing them away slightly, and depending on the enemy, will put them into a pressured state. You can also parry by holding the block button, which is much easier since there's no timing involved, but you leave yourself open for ranged attacks. Cloud also has a third parry that is overpowered. His move counter stance that you get from the very last weapon in the game can not just parry melee, but ranged as well, and it does a ton of damage, potentially on multiple enemies. The parry window for it is very large as well. The only downside is it costs ATB. Even if you miss the timing, Cloud will still do a quick slash on the targeted enemy. Then there's Aerith. I was kidding before about Jessie. Aerith is my true FF7 crush. She's sweet, genuine, and just really nice to be around. Cloud isn't the hard ass he makes himself out to be deep down, and Aerith is the first person to see that. And she's always making fun of Cloud's tough guy persona.
Stay close.
So cool.
slowly making it drop without you really noticing. She's by far my favorite character other than Cloud. Her music makes me so emotional after playing the original. I haven't been this hurt over a character since I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for the first time, and that's the biggest compliment I can give. At the start of chapter 14, there's a cutscene that's different depending on your decisions in the game, and I got the one for Aerith, and after playing the original, it had me sobbing.
I'm glad I met you, Cloud. I really am. I'm grateful for all the words we've shared, for all the moments and the memories. You've made me more happy than you know, and I'll always cherish what you've given me. But whatever happens, you can't fall in love with me. Even if you think you have, it's not real.
Do I get a say in all this?
It's almost morning. Time to go,
I'm coming for you.
if that's what you want. Thank you.
This game kinda hints that Aerith has an idea of what her destiny is and what's gonna happen. And this scene almost feels like her trying to protect Cloud from the pain he's gonna feel, and that is, god damn it. Aerith has gone from hitting people with poles to hitting people with chairs. Now she's a ranged character, her base attack being a light magic combo. Aerith is the main mage character. She has the highest magic stats, so I just made her my support mostly. She has an ability called Arcane Ward that lets you cast 2 spells for the cost of 1, and it works with the whole party, so it's overpowered. Where it gets even crazier is with another materia called Synergy. Whenever you use an ability with another character you're playing as, Aerith will cast a linked spell without using MP, and if you combine it with the Arcane Ward, it's a ton of free damage. The AI for the party members is kinda stupid sometimes, and is most noticeable with Aerith, because she won't stay still. You have to keep moving her back to her Arcane Ward, or just fight around it. I wish there was a way to command her to stay on it, but it's fine. I've heard this issue is somewhat addressed in Rebirth, but again, I haven't played that game yet, so I don't know. Okay, so Tifa is very much the girl next door. She's sweet, caring, beautiful, strong, and everyone has a crush on her, except me. She really feels like the girl best friend in this game in particular, which is fine because the Cloud and Tifa romance isn't really a full thing until Disc 2 in the original. But I feel like my one massive hot take about Final Fantasy VII is I am not a fan of Cloud and Tifa's romance. I don't even like it in the original. There's like one really sweet moment I like, but the rest just feels off to me. Tifa really feels like the strong older sister. At least that's how I see her. I'm Team Aerith all the way. Tifa's gameplay on the other hand, I love. She's almost a character action character. She's able to always be in the enemy's faces. Equip her with elemental fist with enemies' weaknesses, and she'll be unstoppable. If you want to win this game, swap to Tifa. I just gave her all the ATB boost materia, along with Chakra, to make her fairly self-sufficient, and also parry materia, because when she has this, you're basically unhittable because she moves so fast. As I said before, Tifa is the best pressurer, because of how fast she can attack and move. And when the enemy is staggered, Tifa can get that percentage up really quick, allowing everyone else to obliterate the enemy. I'm excited to see how much they change her in Rebirth, because in Remake, she's almost broken. And finally, we have Barret. He's the hot-headed, passionate leader of Avalanche. He's very loud and confrontational, and his and Cloud's personalities clash for the first half of the game. It's really fun to see them begin to have a deep understanding for each other and form a brotherly love and respect for each other. Gameplay-wise, I wasn't super interested in playing as Barret. I never really gave the time to master him. I mostly used him as a tank and stand-in Aerith when she wasn't available. He has a move called Lifesaver where he can take damage for his party, and Steel Skin which lets him take less damage overall. All that and having the most health in the game. My current hard mode Barret has 9999 health. He fits really well into the tank role. I also gave him barrier materia for extra support, but most of the time I just gave him healing and raise materia to fill in for Aerith. Red 13 also appears, but as a guest character. But I love his and Barret's interactions, because in the original, for my first ever playthrough, I didn't get any of the secret characters or anything, and for most of the game, my party was Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, so Barret and Red 13 were always hanging out somewhere else. So it's cool to see them have a lot of interactions in this game. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. What do I think about the ending? So I don't hate this ending as much as some people do, but I also don't love it. It's very up to interpretation. This is just how I piece it together, again as a remake alone. I haven't played Rebirth. So the ghosts you've been seeing throughout the game are basically the protectors of fate. Kind of like how the weapons in the original protect the planet, these ghosts called Whispers protect fate itself. So they do things like break Jesse's leg so Cloud has to go to the Reactor 5 mission, and making sure Wedge, Jesse, and Biggs die, and resurrecting Barret when he dies from Sephiroth, which I really hate by the way. Them killing Barret really just feels like shock value. Like we already know how the Whispers work at this point. It's just dumb. And Sephiroth, who doesn't show up at all in the original Midgar section, shows up every hour because he's trying to get Cloud so triggered that he'll follow him into another dimension to kill fate itself, because Sephiroth knows his own fate. Or it's the same Sephiroth, I don't know. But you kill Fate in a pretty okay boss fight, then fight Sephiroth. I don't really like that you fight Sephiroth at the end. Sephiroth is so iconic and impactful in the original because he's rarely actually there in person. And when he is, you know shit's about to go down. I don't actually hate Sephiroth appearing at the end because it's a Final Fantasy VII game. You kinda have to have Sephiroth. It's the law. And it's really well done when he does appear, because there's the question of whether it's actually him or just another illusion. And Cloud is shit himself scared. I just don't like that you fight him. I really wish they saved fighting him until part 3. They had the cutscene where him and Cloud have a short skirmish, and Sephiroth says, "Not yet," then fucks off. I think that would have worked really well, and would have kept the fear of Sephiroth real. To focus my thoughts, I just think Sephiroth is overused throughout the game. I do think the story works mostly, and everything I want is there. There's just very small issues that annoy me slightly deep down. Having Zack back alive in an alternate timeline is really hype until you think about it. To me, a big theme of Final Fantasy VII is life, and cherishing life, and everything you have and love. But life doesn't matter without death, and death doesn't matter if it isn't permanent, even in an alternate universe. I want to say again, I haven't played Rebirth. Maybe they do it well, but having Zack alive, and potentially gonna interact with the main universe Cloud, what does that mean for Cloud's whole Who Am I arc in Disc 2? Or what about Aerith? Her death hurts so much because it's sudden, shocking, and permanent. Once she dies, she's gone until the very end of the game, where it's shown she's been with you, in spirit, as one with the planet. I think that's one of the most respectful and almost beautiful ways to write about death, because it feels real, makes you feel real grief. If somehow Cloud is able to talk to Aerith after she dies, even if it's an alternate universe version, I think it'll completely ruin the impact of it. But I just got distracted talking about something for the future, not the remake itself. I've been thinking about this ending basically every day since I played the remake for the first time, and I still have no idea how I completely feel about it. That's why I'm super excited to see where they take it in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I already have pre-ordered and ready on PC. In conclusion, Final Fantasy VII Remake is an amazing game that adds and improves upon a lot of the original game, while still telling a new story. The gameplay, music, and story are amazing, and I can't recommend it enough. But in some ways, I do think I would have preferred a simple remake, all the stuff this game does, without the whole Whispers side plot. But we'll see if my opinion changes when I play Rebirth. If this video does well, I'll definitely make another video on Rebirth when it comes to PC. This is my first video in this style, so I'd love to read what you thought, and I'll see you all in a minute.